It is Thursday, May 30th, 2019. Bitcoin sharks were out today and they were liquidating some eager margin traders. Let's jump in and check our indicators, and then we're going to look at some surprise details with the Bitcoin dominance trends that I wasn't expecting. This is the 24 hours of Bitcoin. As usual, we'll take a look at our disclaimer. You can pause the video here to read through it so that you know this isn't trading advice. This is just market observation. Let's jump right into the charts. And we're looking at the weekly RSI. The important thing that I'm looking at in the RSI here, for my own part, is I'm looking for patterns that repeat. So we've got an uptrending RSI that I'm watching for the uptrend to continue for some time. And yet we've been watching for it to pull back over this last couple weeks maybe, as it's pulling away from this bottom trend line, waiting for it to pull back. Now we see a little bit of an edge here. Let me zoom in on this. We can see the trend changed and pulled back a little bit, and then the RSI dipped down. And if we go back in history, it doesn't do that. It's a nice sharp point, nice sharp point, nice sharp point. Here it eased off a little bit and then went up to a sharp point. We have an ease off and a drop back. And if we go back, the only place that we have an ease off and then a drop back in this pattern is right here. So we're going to, we don't know what let's see what the chart says. Right at that point, we had a double top. So it eased off, dropped back. And if we see the RSI making a top formation here in our weeklies, then we know what's coming for our main charts. Let's continue on with the RSI study. Zoom in here, clear that stuff off, and pull it in. So the RSI is giving us a nice uptrend all the way along, flat tops here on these two higher highs, and then lower on this subsequent higher high. We have a lower RSI. That's the kind of divergence I like to look for. Now we zoom into the 12-hour bars, and we confirm this divergence is still there, and yet we have higher lows on all of these lows here in the RSI as we have higher lows moving up here, still supporting the parabolic move theory. When we zoom in here, this is where the parabolic moon theory starts to get a chink in the armor. This RSI has dipped down below this trend line. So watching for this kind of divergence as we're coming up to the top, we're getting just a bit of a divergence and a chink in that. Now I want to start paying attention to that more. Let's go out to the weekly view of the unbalanced volume. So on balance, this shows us if the volume is positive or negative. So right now we can see that it's been pretty nice, but we've got a little, again, we've got that little drawback in the volume where it's come back, eased off, and then pulled back. And so I'm wanting to find anything in the history that has the ease back and then pull back, very much like the weekly RSI did. And we don't have any examples of that. Usually it just makes a peak and drops back, makes a peak and drops back. So it's peaked. We can expect maybe that it's going to be dropping back. Let me zoom out now and go to the 1 year view so that we're taking a look here and I'm watching for divergences. And I'm just watching so that we can check back later to find out, in 2-3 weeks, we'll find out, did this go higher or lower? Was this a divergence that we should ignore next time? Or is this something really valid that we're proving out in real time how important it is? Let's zoom in again and see how this on balance, the volume has changed as this little bit of time has moved on and the volume itself in the chart has eased off as well. So we got a lot less volume. It's not that positive when we're into the 12-hour view. Let's zoom in a bit more. This doesn't look as bad. We're in the 4-hour view. It seems to be more positive, even right up until this dump here. So I want to zoom in more and see what's going on with this dump. Pretty strong negative actually compared to what we've had in the past in this chart view. Again, when we're into the 15-minute view, it's still a much more negative than buying power stopping the negative, whereas before we didn't have as much negative. So that's important to see that this was a stronger push down. But when we get into this view, we can see that the push down wasn't as strong as the push back. So it's still not giving me perspective, except that when we start getting into the, sorry about that, when we get into the 1 minute view, now we can start to see that the volume change here is pretty significant, where all the way along for hours and hours and stuff before, there was almost no trading volume comparatively. Then as this broke out, the trading volume picked up. The trading volume has stayed and maintained as we've come back to these levels. That means there's as much selling as there is buying, given that it's making a tiny little bottom formation, and we've seen this reject bottoms before. I want to pay attention to that as we are watching this chart at the top here right now, still not knowing if it's a top formation or if it is continuing on the parabolic move. Either way, we do have the 1, 2, 3 top formation. We have at least 4 times off of an uptrend line to look at just the technicals for reasons to be taking profits on that or getting out. Now on to the next one, our daily MACD indicator. We'll start off looking at the weekly view. And what I want to notice here is these histograms have not yet eased off. We're not seeing this losing momentum on the weekly view. It's still looking pretty good in the MACD chart. Now we go into the daily view and it's not looking quite as good. We can see that it's topped out and crossed over. And should this green cross under the red again and our histogram go to negative here on the daily view, that is strengthening my idea that this is going to be a top and a pullback for at least a little bit. Now go into the 3-month view and it's not crossing over to positive, and it is here already. The histogram is turning to negative. So this is feeling like it's losing power here. Crossed over at this top. It crossed over. We got a little bit more out of it and it's still not showing me strength coming up. So still anticipating that this is easing off. We got a divergence here where we have higher highs and we have lower highs in the MACD. We've got a negative crossover, a negative crossover, a negative crossover, and histograms and the negative right now. So all of these things are still giving me the feeling it's negative. So when it started to move up higher, and yesterday we went through and this was all looking pretty negative. It was interesting. I had to be really watching closely. And then as it's slamming back down afterwards, now I really want to do the video so that I can record this stuff and have this data to reflect on later to see, in 6 months to come back and rewatch this day to see what happened. Zoom in on it and you can see the volume picking up here. And here's a positive divergence just in this very short time frame. Everything's negative until we come right to this point of the triangle, the very edge of it. So I'm certainly not recommending a buy, and watching carefully for where it starts to match the patterns that we've already identified as our exit signals, so that we already know in advance when we're going to get out, what is going to cause us to get out, how far we're going to get out, scaling in and out, so that we're not doing anything rashly and jumping in and out, but scaling in, scaling out as the top formations and bottom formations shape up. So usually we have quite a bit of time to see it coming. It's just identifying it, not denying it, is the trick in all of things of life. So here we have Bitcoin dominance, where it was on this uptrend. We're getting this ascending wedge triangles and a burst higher, ascending wedge triangle and a burst higher all the way along here. And then we had the ascending wedge triangle and it fell out of the larger parallel channel. And I'm thinking that Bitcoin dominance is going to be coming back and that altcoin are going to be moving up strongly. So the other chart that we're watching is the altcoin market cap / dominance. And from April 1st until May 13th, all of the altcoins were coming down pretty much in this exact pattern. This seems to be an average of all of the altcoins movements. Then we had this capitulation low and a bounce, this bull flag shape up, and everything started to look good just as we were predicting. This going higher, Bitcoin dropping lower out of its dominance, and Bitcoin prices coming down would cause the altcoins to go into a moon phase. This is the theory. So here we have Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and Stellar versus US dollar. And we can see as Bitcoin took off, it was looking great. Litecoin was following. Ethereum gave a little nudge up. And then Bitcoin came down. Ethereum, Litecoin followed right quickly. They were more quick to follow the move down than to follow the move up right now, when we go over and look at them versus Bitcoin, so we have Bitcoin versus US dollar, and look at all this volume here. Then we have Litecoin versus Bitcoin. It didn't gain as against Bitcoin as Bitcoin started to go up. In fact, Litecoin was falling back as Bitcoin was making this run up. It just wasn't showing the move and the power that Bitcoin was. Same thing with Ethereum. It started to fall off as Bitcoin went up. And Stellar versus Bitcoin also fell off. And so it seems that the whole industry took a step back, and not just Bitcoin pulling back. And the alts actually pulled back more than Bitcoin did. By looking at this, we can see that the altcoin market cap and everything pulled back as Bitcoin dominance picked up. And Bitcoin price didn't go up. Right? Bitcoin price stayed much the same. It dropped a little bit and dominance went up. That shows that altcoins freaked out more than Bitcoin. Then they dropped faster. And this is our inside view of what altcoins are doing versus Bitcoin. And so the lean still is strength in Bitcoin over altcoins right now for the moment. And we'll see how this unfolds over the next couple days. So I appreciate you guys tuning in on this video as we're going through these same indicators day after day after day and starting to get a sense of when a turning point is going to be really here in Bitcoin. It's got to top out sometime. We're watching for it closely. And I do believe that the altcoins are going to moon at the same time that Bitcoin tops out this time. So it's important to watch. I'll be going through all of the altcoins in Poloniex in the Bull Market Watch live stream. You can search YouTube for the Bull Market Watch live stream, I guess, cryptocurrency, and follow along with what's going on there so that we can really track objectively the cryptocurrency bull market change from uncertain to certainly bull market. And it's on its way. And the reason I think it's on its way is because of this chart here, the 5-year view of altcoin market cap, the 5-year view of altcoin market cap. And I'm not really too concerned about the price itself. And I can't see where to get rid of that. At any rate, I'm not worried about the price itself, more concerned or interested in the volume underneath here. And we can see here that this week it's Thursday and we are already numbers in the top 5 or top 6 of best volume weeks of all of trading volume history in altcoin. And we're at these historical lows in altcoin prices. So the market cap is going up and the prices are going to be coming up insanely. It's just a matter of watching and sitting now. Get a little position and sit on it, really. Anyway, this will wrap it up for this episode of the 24 Hours of Bitcoin. We'll tune in next time and we'll see what unfolds in our indicators. Is this break in the RSI enough to take it down? Is the unbalanced volume really a divergence enough that says Bitcoin prices are topping out here and going to be coming down? Is a break of this trend line enough? Tomorrow we'll tune in and find out what goes on. Thanks again for watching this episode of the 24 Hours of Bitcoin. Tune in next time. Be sure to hit thumbs up and subscribe.